In its latest national military strategy update, the Pentagon notes that it can use force to counter those that pose a challenge to international law. Joining Russia and Islamic State on the list is China, although the document says the US supports China's growth. Any move Beijing makes in the Asia-Pacific region, which the US doesn't like, could get a military response. The Pentagon holds back, though, from calling any of these countries a direct threat, but gives itself the right to act over what it deems as security concerns. Well, let's discuss this strategy with independent China specialist Andrew Leung. He joins us now. Good to speak to you this evening. What do you make of the US putting China on that list of security concerns? Do you think that's fair?
Well, I think that we have got to look at it in both ways. First of all, I think that the first way to look at it is adopt an open mind, because any country, any large and powerful country, needs to see its defense in global terms nowadays, and no large country can afford to look at internal security. So, of course, the world's biggest superpower, like the United States, especially with its military dominance, is likely to look at how military power can be exercised to maintain American primacy, as it were, in various theaters. Now, the other way to look at it, though, is that this preoccupation with American military strength doesn't solve Americans' problems, in the sense that certain conflicts are not amenable to direct military intervention by force or coercion, and then secondly, in terms of American leadership or primacy, you can't sustain that leadership just by military strength, because the whole world is now become interdependent and interconnected, and in fact economics plays a very, very important part as the whole world. The economic gravitas is shifting from the west to the east, and big countries like China, of course, is becoming increasingly very important economically, not in terms of just the size, although it's already the world's second largest economy, but in terms of connectivity. A lot of the countries depend on China for trade and for growth. So you're not going to change the situation with more aircraft carriers or more missiles.
Sure, but is it right to consider China's action in the South China Sea provocative in relation to its land reclamation and also building islands for military bases?
Yes, that's true. But of course, that each country has got to look at to look after their core interests. For China, of course, the South China Sea is not only about territorial sovereignty, but also it is a major conduit for energy and resources and trade, which of course are China's lifeblood. And of course, China has over the years, over the decades, and even never conceded its territorial claims. And so now China becomes bigger. Previously, China was weak, was unable to exert any kind of influence over these key sea routes. Now China is in a position, but obviously China is aware this the kind of actions would cause concerns in its neighbors, and that's why China is adopting a kind of multi-dimensional approach. On the one hand, sort of putting other nations at ease and building up trade and other relations, but on the other hand, trying to make sure that these facilities, this building constructions, are not likely to obstruct any kind of international shipping passage. And
just quickly, Andrew, because we're running out of time, what do you think will be China's response to these claims by the US? Basically the claim that China is a threat to the US. How do you think China will respond?
Well, if you look at the Americans' latest military paper, it doesn't really put China in the category of rivals or threat. But of course, it raises certain concerns about the South China Sea. Well, of course, China's response has been quite consistent, saying that, of course, China would continue to defend its territorial claims, but its actions in the South China Sea are unlikely to impede any peaceful, shipping.
OK, we have to leave it there, but thanks very much for your thoughts on this topic. That was Andrew Leung, an independent China specialist. Thank you.